Good morning, and thank you for joining us today for our GM Apprenticeship Business Spotlight. Can someone just give me, I want to make sure my screen is showing. Is my screen showing right now?
No.
No? Okay. Is it showing now?
Yes.
Thank you so much. My name is Nasha Ely. I will be moderating today's session. I'm a business relations consultant with the Business Network Division at the Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity within Michigan Rehabilitation Services. I'm a woman wearing brownish colored glasses. I have braids that are on the left side of my head. And I have on a burgundy-ish sweater, gray top, and you'll see a blue, greenish tinted background with the Leo MRS logo behind me. For today's session, we will be discussing General Motors and the various apprenticeships opportunities that are offered at this business. We will not get deep dive into each individual apprenticeship opportunity, but this will be a general overview to tell you about the process, the opportunities available, locations, pay, things like that, the basics, and additional information can be obtained if this is of interest. This week, from November 17th through November 23rd, marks the 10th annual National Apprenticeship Week. This year's theme, 10 Years of Engagement, Expansion, and Innovation, is in recognition of the fact that since National Apprenticeship Week's inception, literally thousands of events have allowed countless individuals to learn about the life-changing impact that the registered apprenticeship has had and continues to have for so many job seekers and employers. National Apprenticeship Week is a nationwide celebration where employers, industry reps, labor organizations, community-based organizations, workforce partners, educational institutions, federal, state, and local government agencies host events similar to this or different types of events to showcase the success and value of registered apprenticeship for strengthening our economy by developing a highly skilled workforce to meet industry needs, create pathways for career seekers in order to catapult them into good jobs, and also a way to advance racial and gender equity. National Apprenticeship Week gives registered apprenticeship sponsors the opportunity to showcase programs, facilities, and apprentices in their community. This and more information can be located on the apprenticeship.gov website. So for today's session, we do ask that you exercise patience, especially with technology. If you have questions, please put those questions in the chat. We will also have time at the end of the session for Q&A. And if something does not get answered, we can follow up afterwards. This session is being recorded. You will receive the recording within a week of this presentation. So before Thanksgiving, you'll have this as a recording. If you need captioning, it is available in the Teams app. You would click on the three buttons at the top of your screen, click on More, and in the drop-down, select Turn on Live Captions. So now I'd like to introduce our GM employers that are here with us today, as well as one of the educators from Penn Foster. We have Louis Chapman, Donrita Cantrell, and Alan Farley from General Motors, and Rick Bruno from Penn Foster. And they'll be here today to talk to us all about the apprenticeship opportunities and hopefully answer all of your questions. So I'm going to turn this over to Lou.
Good morning, everybody. Lou Chapman here with GM Skill Trades Labor Rep, Corporate Labor Rep. I'm also on the National Apprentice Committee, and that Apprentice Committee is comprised of myself, Kelly Kopis, and Andrea Morrow, our UAW Regional Rep, who represents our collective bargaining unit employees. And we come to the determination of a lot of apprenticeship criteria, the outlines, the eligibility requirements, the national bargaining agreement, and we help run the program. But with that, I also want to open it up for introductions to Al Farley and Rick Bruno and Don Rita before I get started and share my presentation. Al, if you'd like to start and just introduce yourself and share your role.
Oh, I'm Al Farley. I'm currently at the Spring Hill plant, Tennessee. I'm the apprentice chairman. You have to forgive me, I got a little bit of laryngitis going on, so my apologies to the audience. Actually went through the apprentice program with General Motors back in the early 90s, the last century, so I'm old now, but we currently have 60 active apprentices here at Spring Hill. We recently graduated 12 this year and 21 altogether. We've put through 150 apprentices here at Spring Hill. So welcome.
Rick.
Good morning, Rick Bruno from Penn Foster, and we are the training provider for the START program, which is the Skilled Trades Apprenticeship Readiness Certificate program, and we'll discuss that more in upcoming slides. Happy to have you all here, and looking forward to providing a bit more information on what Penn Foster offers to the GMUAW apprenticeship program.
Good morning. My name is Don Rita Cottrell, and I am the OFCCP EEOC AAP Program Compliance Manager for General Motors. And I work with Lou on outreach programs for women, minorities, individuals with disabilities, and veterans.
Thanks, guys. With that, can everybody see my screen that I'm sharing?
Yes.
Very good. So like you guys just heard, I'm with the National Apprentice Committee. Al is a site-specific at Spring Hill on the local Apprentice Committee as the chairperson. Rick is with Penn Foster, and Penn Foster provides us with the pre-apprenticeship program that provides our Skilled Trades Apprentice Readiness Certificate that you'll often hear us talk about is called START. That gets a candidate ready and provides a lot of the requirements to determine if a candidate is eligible to serve an apprenticeship. Apprenticeships today are very expensive compared to what they were back when Al served one and when I served one, Al. So I'm not too far from you. You're not that old, Al. With that, apprenticeships have changed quite a bit. On average, we're at about $500,000 to $600,000 invested in an apprentice from start to finish, from benefits, pay, the related instruction, and everything that goes along with it. So the Skilled Trades Apprentice Readiness Certificate gives us that ability to validate that a candidate is ready to start an apprenticeship. We also deal with the United States Department of Labor. All of our apprenticeships are registered with the Department of Labor through a vehicle called Rapids. And in the end, when an apprentice successfully completes an apprenticeship, they are entitled to what we call a DOL 671 form, which is and a journey person's card with the United Auto Workers. With that, that's your certificate, and it holds a lot of merit, especially as things change, industry changes, employers change. You don't have to get re-educated into a new trade necessarily. You have those credentials, and that's the documentation to prove it.
Lou, just to add to the START program, what's a little bit unique for us here is it has the people who are trying to enter the apprentice program to put some skin in the game, because they actually have to complete these courses on their own time and effort. So they have to do that up front and complete. So they're actually not surprised once they get in the apprenticeship program what it means to go to school, because they actually complete it for college courses. So
good point, Al. You're absolutely right. Yes. It kind of tees them up, right, Al?
Exactly.
Yeah. Also another player is what we have at General Motors called the Technical Learning University. And right now, all of our electrical apprentices attend their related instruction, their classroom instruction, for their apprenticeship requirements at the Technical Learning University. They do take some locally, some of the primary courses, the fundamental courses, but the I can say the high technical robot training, robot programming, a PLC programming. Those are all offered at our Technical Learning University in Warren, Michigan. In addition to that, one of the other significant players are community colleges, and our sites lean on community colleges all across the country to provide the classroom instruction that is associated with that apprenticeship. And I'll break that down a little bit more further in these slides. So with that, I'm going to go to the next slide. Hopefully, if it'll give me control here. So General Motors as a whole, currently we have 25 North American manufacturing, assembly, and engineering sites. What do those three distinctions mean? Manufacturing is generally sites that provide components for a lot of our assembly sites. Our assembly sites, of course, are exactly what it says. It's where the vehicles are assembled, painted, stored before they're transported to the dealers. And our engineering sites are where a lot of our design builds happen. Warren Tech Center is our primary one, Milford Proving Grounds, and they have more unique skilled trades at some of those sites as well that I'll describe later on. But as you can see, we go from Arlington, Texas, all the way to Tonawanda Engine Plant in New York. 29 in total that we have apprenticeships at, and currently have apprentices at. So these are specific programs. Currently, we have about 480 apprentices, and that number fluctuates every week. We have apprentices that complete every week. We have 11 different trades at those sites currently right now. We have 16 trade apprenticeships, 9 of which are the engineering trades, which are primarily at our engineering sites. So we have our traditional apprenticeships, our electrician, machine repair, millwright, pipe fitter, tool maker, tool and die maker. Then in blue are all of our engineering die checker, metal model maker, wood model maker. They're very unique and some very detailed apprenticeships that go along with that. So that gives you a overview of where you could actually land in an apprenticeship. One of the best sites that we have is our GM apprenticeship, which I have a link in on this slide, which I'm thinking will be shared with everybody. But it gives you a pretty good breakdown of apprenticeships at General Motors on that site. With that, I'm going to play this video just to give you an idea.
Lou, I think you need to unshare and share sound.
I'm sorry. Sorry,
No
guys.
problem.
1 second.
It's okay. Everyone will be patient with technical difficulties.
Let's try this one more time.
Is everything okay?
Is it working for you, Lou?
Lou, is it working for you?
I'm sorry, guys. It's not playing. I apologize.
No.
Oh, boy. I apologize, guys. Give me 1 second. Don Rita, give me a thumbs up if it plays.
I've got it on the screen, but it's not playing. There we go.
In
Good
plant
job.
environments where production equipment is electrically driven, and there are miles of wiring and cabling, plus transformers and controllers, switches, relays, lights, alarm systems, and more, there's no shortage of work for this skilled trade, the electrician. For every piece of equipment or machinery that's electrical, these men and women are responsible for setup and maintenance. And when machines need repair, they're the ones who troubleshoot the problem. Electricians ensure that wiring systems are properly grounded to meet codes and safety regulations. They test and repair equipment, including electrical components of mechanical, pneumatic, and hydraulic systems, using ammeters, programmable logic controllers for robotics, and test lamps to detect burned out elements and fuses, defective wiring, or bearings. And among other tasks, electricians may also repair a die if the wiring has been compromised. The simple fact is that automotive plants can't function without electricity, which means they can't function without the electrical skilled trades. These men and women are skilled in reading blueprints and interpreting complex schematics and diagrams, particularly when having to repair large machinery and die tools needed in making parts. And they're every bit as skilled in using hand tools, wiring materials, electrical components, and sophisticated diagnostic equipment. There's lots of action for this skilled trade, and lots of responsibility as well. No question about it, electricians are a major reason GM facilities operate so productively and efficiently. For electricians, as for all UAW GM skilled trades, safety is the first concern. Safety for yourself, for others, and for everyone in the plant.
Sorry about the delay, guys.
Problem.
So with that, what is an apprenticeship? An apprenticeship is mainly broken down into 2 parts. One is OJT, which we call OJT, which is on-the-job training. And the other is the related instruction or the classroom. So just to give you some scale, this is the on-the-job training that a machine repair is required to participate in and complete at their site for a machine repair apprenticeship. Our apprenticeships are all with guided under an Appendix A. That Appendix A outlines the OJT and the related instruction requirements. And most are 7,920 hours of OJT. Some are 7,328 hours, all depending on the trade. But you can plan on anywhere from 4 to 5 years of an apprenticeship, basically. That's setting aside any overtime requirements, because any overtime that an apprentice works does go towards this OJT portion. But a traditional 2,000-hour work year, if you will, it could take anywhere from 4 to 5 years to complete an apprenticeship. So you can see here with the on-the-job training for a machine repair person, there's a lot of technology, a lot of process equipment. And what we call process equipment are things that actually manufacture our end components, fenders, hoods, bodies, engines. It all depends. So there's a lot of technology that goes into every single trade, and learning the new technology as well. So we try to do our best with a lot of upskilling of existing journey persons as the technology changes, but it changes very rapidly and it's very hard to keep up with it. So that's the OJT portion of it. And that instruction is provided to the apprentice by a journey person that's already finished an apprenticeship in that trade. The other part of the apprenticeship is, like I said before, the related instruction. And all dependent on what trade an individual is placed in, it could be anywhere from 500 to 720 contact hours of classroom. This again is for machine repair. Most of these classes are provided at the community college, close to the site or reasonably close to the site. An electrician, like I said earlier before, most of the related instruction is at our TLU in Warren, Michigan. And the reasoning behind that was basically to provide the latest and the greatest that community colleges may not be able to provide based off of the new technologies. FANUC robots, Rockwell's PLCs, Siemens PLCs, a lot of our vision systems. Vision systems are really starting to come into play at a lot of our sites, where an actual robot actually has eyes, basically, and can make decisions based on what it sees. In addition, there's also a lot of conveyor colleges going on, courses that are going on at the TLU for a lot of our high-tech conveyance systems. So, but that's just a good outline. Al, please.
Just to add to that a little bit, a lot of the local colleges, I know there's some excellent ones in Michigan. I went to OCC up there as well for pre-apprenticeship, but down here we have some good robot training, but the colleges have a hard time keeping up with the up-to-date architecture that's forever changing. So that's one of the reasons why we have to sort of centralize it up at the Warren Tech Center. We actually fly our folks up from Tennessee to attend that training in Michigan. Sorry, Lou.
No, you're right, Al. Yeah, it's a big commitment, and those apprentices, there's a sacrifice to it. They're leaving their families for those, for a week period of time to go up to the TLU. It is only temporary. It's only for that 4 or 5 year, but there are also a lot of our apprentices. There's life goes on, right? And they have things outside of work. So it is a sacrifice in respect to that. So I'm glad you brought that up, Al. Thank you. Just some bullet points that I kind of put together that I'd like to touch on with the group. Once an apprentice, or I should step back, once a candidate gets accepted into, completes a START program and gets a certificate of completion, and if they get placed into an apprenticeship, these are some of the requirements that we're asking once an apprentice is made an offer. Apprentices who accept an apprenticeship offer are required to sign an apprenticeship agreement. And that apprenticeship agreement consists of maybe about 4 or 5 pages, Al. Am I right with that? Close to it? Yep. And that agreement basically states all the facts of the apprenticeship and what the expectations are. It states that the apprentices are compensated during their classroom training, so they're not doing that on their own time. The apprentices are contractually required to carry a C or higher in each class. Apprentices receive benefits on their first day of employment. There's a contractual commitment to place, well, let me step off of that. I don't want to go there yet. All apprentices are registered with the Department of Labor. That's also in the apprenticeship agreement that states that. Apprentices typically take 4 to 5 years to complete. I stated that earlier. Apprentices related instruction tuition is paid for by GM and includes an $1,800 tool and book allowance. So General Motors is picking up all the related instruction, any tuition, any fees that are associated with it, and your salary while you're at school. The current apprentice starting rates are anywhere from $36.50 to $40.15. It's probably one of the highest paid apprenticeships from day one for a term of apprenticeship. Even in the building trades, they're not at this scale. So we bring in apprentices that on day one that are compensated at quite a high rate, above a lot of industry standards.
Right. And another key one that we haven't got listed or just came to mind was the ability they need to be able to work all 3 shifts. So, because we have
Good
to
point,
remind
Al.
them of that. So,
Yeah, good point. Yeah. Yeah, we are on most of our sites, it's a 24-hour operation. And you learn a lot on different shifts. I've always said
different
from
journeyman,
my
you got to, yeah.
yeah,
So,
my experience with working in plants is you have 3 different shifts, 3 different ways to learn things, 3 different environments. It's just the way it is. It's the nature of the business, and
Right.
it's good. It's good to get that exposure.
Yep.
Contractually, we've committed to 650 total indenturements into the apprenticeship. I think we're about 565 we owe on this contract, but all depending on how our business needs meet, we could even potentially go higher than that. Skilled Trades is really taking a new meeting on at General Motors, really, I think nationwide, no matter what industry. And there's a strong desire that we're losing a lot of good skill set just due to the baby boomer getting ready to retire or retiring.
Yeah, and we're finding, at least in the Tennessee area, I know it's a little bit different in Michigan, that we cannot go out and hire qualified journeymen. We have to do a lot of training, the folks we do get in. So it's more important to having a steady flow of apprentices turning out going forward.
And Al, to reinforce, when Al and I served our apprenticeship, getting a journeyman's card was a privilege, but it means a lot more, I think, today than it did even 10, 15 years ago. Al, would you agree with that?
Absolutely. That's the first thing the folks we do hire in or want to know, how
Yeah.
do I get it? How do I get it? So
Yeah, it's gotten a higher value over time.
Same-
It really
same
has.
thing with the battery plants we're now pulled in. The first thing they want to try to do is, how do I get that?
Yeah.
And the Department of Labor certificate, which is
Yeah.
a big deal. So
Yeah, I can't stress it enough for folks that don't have one, that are interested in getting one. It is value added. I never realized going through it when I went through my apprenticeship how value added it would mean to me later in life, and it really does. And it's taken on even a greater meaning. Just to share that personal point. Some additional eligibility requirements. We have specific contractual language in our national agreement that we agree to, that a candidate has to be eligible. They have to meet some of these requirements. A candidate must be a high school graduate or have an equivalent education, such as a high school equivalency test or other methods that may be agreed upon by the GM UAW Skilled Trades and Apprentice Committee, or meet the alternative requirements set forth in the GM UAW Standard Apprenticeship Plan. The new employee applicant must be at least 18 or otherwise consistent with applicable state and federal laws. We still have to meet employment laws and our requirements for employment, whether you're skilled trades or not. On the right-hand side here, this is basically the language, contractual language for the START program. So you have to be a completed START candidate to get placed on the candidate list. And how that breaks down is you have to have a 75% or better in all 4 of the START classes to qualify for manufacturing and assembly sites. And you have to have an 85% better in all 4 classes to qualify for our engineering facilities. That would be Warren Tech Center, Milford Proving Grounds, and our Michigan site, NAETC, which are more of the niche trades. So those are, for the most part, our eligibility requirements. Don Rita, would you like to touch base maybe a little bit on some of the employment requirements in
Sure.
addition?
So there are physical and mental along, as with any job, right? Requirements, employment requirements, but they are different and can be different for each trade. So to the extent there are individuals on the call that are interested, if you are a customer of MRS, you can speak with your counselor and they can share with you the both the physical and the mental requirements for each of the trades.
Thanks, Don Rita. Perfect. Rick Bruno. Hopefully I still got you there. Rick?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, I just had my camera turned off.
No problem, Rick.
So-
if you want to elaborate a little bit on Penn Foster and how it's broken down, please.
Sure. And I know there's some upcoming slides with a few more details, and kind of we'll recap some of this as well with some questions laid out and some answers there. So it's a nice succinct area for folks to get their information on the recap once that's sent out. But again, the START program is the Skilled Trade Apprenticeship Readiness Certificate program, and is a prerequisite for becoming eligible for the apprenticeship placement list. There are 4 total courses broken up into 2 semesters each. You'll see it laid out here, START 1 and 2. In semester 1 is shop arithmetic and machine tool blueprint reading, and semester 2 consisting of START 3 and 4, the trade-related preparation and intermediate algebra. These are all online courses with the ability to enroll at any time, although the enrollments actually launch each Monday. So these programs are fully supported. They are self-paced during the time that you have the availability for the training, but they're fully supported up to and including instructional support. We've got a dedicated 800 number for GMUAW students. So if you have any questions about the content that you're studying, they are fully supported by instructors and support staff in case you had any challenges logging in, forgot a password, anything along that line. So again, here are common questions with the ability for folks to be able to review this later on. The START program, again, Skilled Trades Apprenticeship Readiness Certificate Program, and again, allowing successful candidates, graduates, I should say, to apply for entry on GMUAW's Skilled Trade Apprenticeship Eligibility List. This is the list from which GMUAW will pull candidates and place them into the Skilled Trade Apprenticeship Program that Lou and Al had spoken about previously. Again, noting the 4 courses there the semesters are consisting of. You enroll in 1 semester at a time. And when you do need to pass semester 1 in order to enroll in semester 2. The training, as I had mentioned, is self-paced. You have 16 weeks to complete semester 1 and 24 weeks to complete semester 2. During that time, the training is self-paced. So if you started, for instance, on January 1 as an example, and you shot forward 16 weeks, you're looking at roughly the end of April for your completion time. But during the January through the end of April timeframe, the training is self-paced, so you can go in and knock out some exams at any point in time, and that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And again, it is supported through a dedicated 800 number as well as a dedicated email address for any assistance that may be needed. And typical business hours, 8 to 6, if you're reaching out and if it happens to be that you were to reach out after those hours, we would get back to you the following day. Cost on the program, semester 1 is $700. And it should say semester 2, Lou. My apologies if you don't mind correcting that before that's resent. Semester 2 is $750. Again, you can apply at any time, and enrollments are processed every Monday. So if you were to enroll today on Thursday, November 21, you would be enrolled next Monday. That's when it would start. And again, for semester 1, the clock would begin at that point, 16 weeks. There'll be an expiration date that's set that you have the availability to view online. And if it's semester 2, again, 24 weeks from the time of your enrollment. And where can you apply? I've listed the link here to GM UAW's partner page with Penn Foster so that you can enroll.
Rick, if I may add, if somebody desires to go on there to enroll in the program, you'll see some verbiage on there called about vouchers, and it wouldn't apply for anybody in this group that unless you were a General Motors employee currently. Just keep that in mind when you're looking at that website. Some folks get a little confused when they see what a voucher is when they're an external candidate. You would be a self-pay is I believe the exact terminology, right, Rick, from the website? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. And we do have 2 separate websites on that, Lou. So those with vouchers would be led to a specific website. And then the self-pay in this particular link would lead external candidates to this site for self-pay. And the site, I should mention, is going to have all kinds of information for you to review. You'll see the breakdown of the START 1, 2, 3, and 4 by semester 1 and 2 on the previous page. There will be frequently asked questions that not only answer these questions, but many more that I didn't want to bore you with the details today, but pretty much any question that you could want answered will be on there. And of course, we're always available. We've got a great team on the Penn Foster side. From our support staff as student services, we've got a client service staff for other folks at GMUAW to assist for any needs as well. And then, of course, right up to and including our instructors. So we are very focused on student support, and really all you need to do is raise your hand. If you were sitting in a classroom somewhere and you needed help, you'd raise your hand and the instructor would assist you at that point. That's all you have to do. Same thing, go through the email address, go through the dedicated toll-free number, raise your hand, let us know that you need help, and we're here to support you.
Just to add to this part is the most common question I get is, I just completed an associate's degree. Do I have to take all these classes? The answer is yes, except for maybe algebra, if they have that recently, but you have to take them all.
That is correct. That is correct. You would need to take them all, and the difference possibly being algebra. So if you've passed algebra through a degree program and you submit those transcripts, there's a process to submit those, and you may get credit for intermediate algebra, which is STARC 4, which is in semester 2.
Yep.
Very good. Thanks, Rick.
Hey, Rick, there was a question with regard to if I have trouble with a class, right? And I don't pass the class with a 75, am I able to retake it?
You absolutely are, and you go through the same process at the self-pay site. Thank you, Dan. Really appreciate that question. At the self-pay site, there are makeup exams. It's important to note that you would be blocked from any ability to go to a makeup exam if you have not already tested on one of the courses. So if you went through and let's just say you passed Stark 1 and maybe you fell a little short on Stark 2, you would be able to go in and take a retest on Stark 2. Those are not by semesters, those are by individual class, because of course, if you passed 1, there's no need to retake that. So you would only retake the one course that you failed. But again, you would not see the ability to access that unless you've already taken that course. So again, thank you for that. That's a very important question to be answered. Lou was kind enough to pull up another slide with a little more information. 75 or better is passing, 85 or better for any of the engineering trades. And there's a list that's completed by Penn Foster and provided to GMUAW related to those folks who have successfully completed the program. And that would be, again, all 4 START classes, semester 1 and semester 2. Successful candidates are then provided on a list to GMUAW. Anyone completing by December 31 would be eligible for the March 1st candidate list. Anyone completing by June 30th would be eligible for the September 1st candidate list. So there's 2 opportunities throughout the year, semi-annually, for you to be able to earn the right to be on that eligibility list. And the students receive and submit a GM survey selecting the desired trades and sites that they're willing to serve an apprenticeship. And so this gives GMUAW the insight as to where the successful candidate has an eye on being chosen for consideration for the apprenticeship. You can be on multiple site lists for consideration, and if selected, candidates are still required to meet employment requirements, and Michigan Rehab Service customers should connect with their counselor prior to applying. Lou, I might have stolen some of your thunder on this, but you know me, I see Penn Foster and I get on a roll. So you can certainly step in, or I'll step in and correct me on anything.
You were right. You know, the bigger they cast that net, the more likely they'll get in sooner.
Yeah, so. Yeah, exactly right. The survey is an important piece. So just to give you guys an idea, years ago we used to have an application that you'd fill out, paper, pencil, and then if you met the requirements with the application, you were able to take a aptitude test. If you completed that aptitude test, then and you were at a certain level, that qualified you for an interview, and then they would take the interview and the aptitude test scores to give you a ranking. The START program is taking over for all of that. Basically, it's take these 4 classes, get the 75% or better, get the START certificate. With the START certificate, you get this survey from General Motors, and General Motors is going to ask you, as a completed START candidate, certificate student, what trades are your preference? And die maker 1, machine repair 3rd, electrician 2nd, whatever your preferences may be, you can order those, you can put those in order on your survey. Then on that same survey, it's going to say, out of our 29 sites, what sites would you be willing to serve an apprenticeship at? And like Al was saying earlier, the larger the net, the better your chances, because the more sites that you pick, the better chances are that it's going to hit you somewhere within that group. But that doesn't mean that it's right for everybody. Some people can't relocate. So some people pick the site that's closest to them. So it's a mixed bag. But it does give you that weigh in and those options to have a large net or have a smaller net. That survey is an important part of it. Once that survey is completed, and like those dates are saying, December 1st completions of Stark would make the March 1st candidate list. June 30th would make the September 1st. So in between that December 31st and March 1st, we're getting those surveys in. And then we're taking it to generate the list to provide to all the sites to say, to sites like Al, here we have John Doe, we have so-and-so, and Al has a line of sight of everybody that's a potential candidate for an apprenticeship at their site. So I just wanted to reinforce, Rick talking on that. The survey is an important piece to that.
Yeah, and on the list part, Lou, assuming the whole audience here is external, it's important to do this right away because you go in there based on the order you completed the program, and that's how you're listed. So
Good point. Absolutely right, Al.
Thank you all so much for all the great information. We have a lot of questions, but before we even start with the questions, because it looks like there might be a little bit of confusion, I want, if you can, please help people understand the START program versus the apprenticeship. Like, I understand what that looks like, but I think some people might be wrapping that into one thing.
Sure.
But the START, okay.
The START program is basically you're applying for an apprenticeship. And instead of just filling out an application like we used to do historically, we're asking all candidates to take these 4 classes and to meet that 75% or better threshold. That is the application, basically, is the START program. After you complete that, you fill out the survey, which is basically asking that student that completed where they would like to go, what sites they'd be willing to serve an apprenticeship at, and what apprenticeships do they desire. We take that data and we take that and put it on our candidate list. We have an internal and an external candidate list. Most of these fine folks would end up on an external list. So as industry or the demands for the skilled trades workforce increase, that's and the workloads at each site, that's how we determine how many apprentices we need, because we do forecasting for retirements. We do forecasting for, we're getting this much more work at a specific site. We're going to need this many more skilled trades within a 48-month period. So we will lean on those candidate lists to feed and support those sites for our skilled trades needs. So you have the STARK, that's pre-apprenticeship, that's your application. The apprenticeship itself is, you would actually become an employee of General Motors. You would actually sign an apprenticeship agreement, and you would serve that OJT, on the job training, and related instruction requirements that were all in your apprenticeship agreement for whatever trade that you got placed in. So there's 2 separate things. The STARK is the application. The apprenticeship is you're already indentured into an apprenticeship, and you're going to have to meet those requirements of that apprenticeship program.
Thank you so much. All right, so some of the questions that were asked, are the apprentices' tools covered once they get to the apprenticeship, the cost?
So
Yeah,
contractually, Al, go ahead, please.
yeah, so they're in their contract. We provide them with the basic tools and a toolbox when they get here. Now there's a lot of other specialty things that they'll pick up their own, but like Lou elaborated to, we give them $1,800 to pay for those tools and books. Extra stuff, but they're basic tools that they'll need for their trade. We usually supply those by plant.
And someone asked, is there a reason why an apprenticeship might take longer, or like with the hours? And is there a time limit? So is it you have to get it done within 4 years, or
no? I mean,
okay.
things happen in people's lives. We've had that with apprentices where they had something where they had to take a personal leave, and obviously that runs out their program beyond the 4 years to 5 or 5.5 years. No, we haven't gone beyond that. Hopefully, we're not talking about 8 years or something doubling. But no, we understand there's things that happen in people's lives, and we adjust accordingly.
And there was a question about the process before hire, which you just went over that whole thing, Lou, so we will not repeat that.
Okay.
And the question about if a course is not passed, there is the opportunity to retake. We already addressed that. So is there or does GM review military experience to determine if there are any transferable skills that may advance a candidate into their apprenticeship?
Sure. We have contractual language that provides a local apprentice committee to request for a modification to an apprenticeship and take into consideration past experience. As Al will attest, from a national level, we ask the site to substantiate that credit to make sure that it's bona fide. Also, the site's required with the Department of Labor to make application for that said credit. But absolutely, we have a lot of military members that were former Seabees that did have a lot of construction or skilled trades experience while they were serving our country. We respect that. We have contractual language to support it. We have a process to support it, and it definitely would be taken into consideration.
Yeah, and it's laid out in the apprentice agreement. If they have that type of experience, they just need to come forward for that up front so we can get that up to Lou and get approved and credit in the proper amount of hours related. We've had a lot of those come in, but as they sit down with their individual plans and their specific apprentice chairman, and they look at what the work is and what they're really going to gain from it versus what, gee, it'd be really good to rehash that. Most of them opt to go ahead and do the whole program, but that option is available to them, absolutely.
Thank you.
This is Keisha. Just a clarifying question on that. They will still need to take those 4 courses first, correct? Or can those be waived as well? 4 courses still. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah, the only way is the algebra. If they've had a college level algebra course recently, they apply for credit for that.
And that even isn't an automatic, it has to be approved.
Right.
Okay. There's a question, and I think you answered it, but I just want to put it out there again. Does an individual have to relocate to be involved in a specific trade?
It all depends on how big of a net they put out on that survey. If I live in New York and I don't check off, let's just say Bay City, Michigan, as a desired site that I'd be interested to go to, and there's openings that happen at Bay City, my name would still stay on the Tonawanda. Let's say I checked off Tonawanda, New York. It would still stay on there until an opportunity or an opening came up for that apprenticeship at that site. So it doesn't necessarily remove them. It all depends on what they put on that survey.
Right, and particularly like for Michigan, Michigan has some separate area placements, so they may do an apprenticeship at one plant, and they'll look at the end and see, well, do we need it at that plant, or can we place them in another plant in an area? And it's generally like within a 60-mile range, so it's not a huge relocation. So
This is Keisha again. Another clarifying question. So if someone put on the survey the locations that they are interested in, and let's say there is not a position available and they're not willing to relocate, how long can they stay on the list?
That's a good point. That's a good question. They would still stay on the list. They would never get removed from the list unless we renegotiated in our national collective bargaining agreement that happens every 4 years. This one's a little bit longer. Al, I think this one's 4.5, 4.8.
4.5 years, yep.
4.5. So it
uh,
would have to be agreed to in our national negotiations if we were going to change course. But as it stands today, if somebody finishes START, fills out the survey for a site, their name is going to stay on that list.
Right. So I have some names. Keep in mind, Spring Hill is a very popular destination. I get, 4 of my top 5 people don't live in Tennessee. They're in Michigan and elsewhere wanting to come here. But um, we'll have people that have been on the list since we began this thing in 2019. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
All righty. There is a question about, well, I'm going to kind of lump these together. Is there a course in the START program that it seems individuals might struggle with completing more or passing successfully more than others? And are there like peer mentors or coaches available to assist individuals who are going through the START process? START program, rather?
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely. Go ahead, Al. You want to?
Well, I just know what feedback I get. Everybody really struggles with the blueprint and algebra are the 2 roughest ones. That the feedback I get. I don't know if Rick's still on. He can probably elaborate more on the statistics of it.
Yeah, I would say probably Blueprint is. I think you're right on both of those. I think Blueprint's probably the most challenging, but that's because Blueprint reading is challenging. And as you progress through into the apprenticeship program, all of these courses are vital pieces. And if someone is going through and finding Blueprint reading challenging, that's not a bad thing, because what lies ahead is going to be even more challenging. So this will give you a good idea that I've gone through this, I've conquered this, and will give you a good feeling about being ready for what lies ahead. And again, if you fail it, don't feel bad about it. Folks have failed and will fail these and come back for the retake to try to find the success to gain entry onto the list.
Yeah, I've had folks take the Blueprint 3 times before they finally passed.
Okay.
I believe the algebra too, Rick, if I may add, algebra is very test weighted, right? So that's another piece of it that kind of throws some students off, if I remember right.
Right. And again, I think the important part here is the fact that, as you're going through and you're studying these things, there are instructors available. So it's not as though someone's going to start Blueprint reading or algebra and just go through and get to the end and take a test and realize, wow, that was very difficult. As they're studying, they're going to have an idea that, okay, this particular concept I'm finding challenging. Again, that's the point you raise your hand. That's the point you use the email dedicated for this program or the toll-free number dedicated to GMUAW to say, I'm raising my hand, I need some assistance with that. Not unlike the apprenticeship program, you have to learn the tools, right? You got to learn to use the tools that you have at your disposal. There are tools available to help you through this if you use them.
We thank you so much for all of your time. It is now at time. I want to make sure everyone again understands that you can follow up with your MRS counselor if you have an MRS case. You do not have to work with Michigan Rehabilitation Services to participate in this apprenticeship. But for those that are, please first coordinate with your MRS counselor to kind of get the process started. And you will receive a recording of this along with any additional information that is shared before next Thursday. There are questions about financial assistance. That would depend on possibly, if someone's working with Michigan Rehabilitation Services, there may be financial assistance that is not guaranteed. That is a conversation we would have with your counselor. If you are not working with us, which is fine, that would be a question during the process of applying for the START program.
And I can quickly just answer that. We do not take any kind of student loans or financial, excuse me, I can't say student loans, financial aid If they're working through and they're getting a loan somewhere, that's fine. And often through the Department of Labor, there's many grants available that they could work through the Department of Labor on that as well. But we don't basically we don't participate in the typical student loan processes someone would go through.
Again, thank you. We appreciate the time that you took out of your day to be here. Thank you to our GM and Penn Foster guests. And then we have our team with the Business Network Division, Keisha Hall-Dilligard, Gary Hollick, and Craig Saunders. Thank you so much. If you have questions, my contact info is on the screen. Enjoy the rest of this week and have a great day. Bye.
Take care. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day, everyone.